So let's take a look at how we do that. Okay, so let's open up PuTTY. Let's configure the switch first. So I'm going to connect to my 3560 switch. So I plug the rollover cable into my 3560. We'll hit open here and log in. So let's make sure that our configuration is proper. First, we'll do show VLAN. And under show VLAN, we see that my clients are currently on VLAN 10, and I have one plugged into F0/1. And my web server is plugged into VLAN 20, and they're plugged into F0/2. If I do a show interface, oh my goodness, I can't type show. Show interface trunk, we see that F024 currently has VLANs 10 and 20 configured on it. So we manually configure that. If we take a look at show run, and I'll show you a trick here. If we want to look at how our trunk interface is configured on F0/24, I can issue the command show run interface F0/24. And that will show me only the running configuration for Fast Ethernet 0/24. So here's all the commands that we used for that. So now what we need to do is we need to configure another trunk port on this device. And this time it's going to be configured on F0/11. So interface Fast Ethernet 0/11. Now, just a note on these switch port interfaces. When we plug a device into them, by default, the switch is going to wait for about 45 seconds before it brings that port to be active. And the reason for that is there's a process called spanning tree protocol, or STP, that we need to wait for that process to finish before we bring the switch port on. And the reason for that is, the reason we wait so long is that we could potentially have other switches hooked up to that particular port, and we may create a loop in our switched environment. And when we create a loop in our switched environment, that can have devastating consequences. So what happens is we wait 45 seconds for that process to happen. So if you're noticing that when you connect your equipment to a switch, specifically to a Cisco switch like this, you're going to find that it's just going to take that 45 seconds for the port to become active. Just be aware of that as you're working with the equipment. Okay, so let's go back to our config here. Now we want to essentially put the same exact configuration on Fast Ethernet 0/24 as we put on Fast Ethernet 0/11. So we want to make it a trunk port, and we want the trunk port to carry VLANs 10 and 20. Well, if I just copy this config by selecting it, and then right-clicking in PuTTY, it will allow me to configure F0/11 to be a trunk port now with VLANs 10 and 20. If I exit my configuration and do show, oh my goodness, show, really, I just cannot type show. Show interface trunk now, I should see two trunk interfaces, both of which have VLANs 10 and 20 allowed now. So we have a trunk on F0/11, which goes to our router, and we have a trunk on F0/24, which goes to the other switch. Perfect. So our trunk port is now configured on the switch. Let's move over to the router